You should find you miss the sweet and tender love we used to share. Just go back to the places where we used to go, and I'll be there. There is always something there to remind me. Always something there to remind me.
My dear brothers and sisters, when you look at today's gospel, we see, I would like to point 3 points or 3 characteristics of the image of God that the gospel is trying to manifest to us today. First, we see a God who is totally the other. That means totally unlike us. St. Thomas would say, we know God more from what he is not than from what he is. This is simply because of the awesomeness of this God, the awesome and infinite holiness of this God. That it is beyond even, it is mind-boggling, it is beyond comprehension. That's why if we look at today's gospel, we see a bright cloud but causes or casts a shadow to the people, to the 3 apostles. A bright cloud manifesting a deep shadow to the apostles. And this simply means the total separateness that man in this life, when he encounters God many times, especially when the Lord desires to show a little of his face, is blinded by that powerful and awesome holiness and light. Another point that manifests itself, or we can see in today's gospel, is God is a God of relationship. Yes, the voice of God causes filial fear that the apostles are afraid. But Jesus reaches down and touches his apostles. He wants to adapt to his apostles. He doesn't want, in a sense, that this filial fear causes some form of division, that it breaks down the familiarity that he desires to have with his apostles, with each and every one of us. And this is the essence of God. We see Yahweh of old causes fear in the Israelites, among the Israelites. When he manifests himself, the apostles, they prostrate themselves in fear and trembling and try to shield themselves from this powerful presence of God. But also, we see God touching Peter and telling them, his apostles, not to be afraid. This is a God who, although he's totally other, does all that he can so that he will be able to form a relationship with us. I remember a story that, an event that occurred when I was quite young and I was sick. I was a young boy and I was in the hospital at UST, and Tita Nena came to visit me. She was still part of the university. And I remember when she entered the room, and I was still a young boy, I felt a sense of a little maybe filial fear, because I and my dad are, I'm sure most of you know my dad, medyo formal ho siya. He's a person who can be we may say, not that demonstrative. And when he calls you to his room, it's like you are talking to the principal. He will not even really smile unless it's, what do you call it, like it's more of a jeer, when he smiles at you. And I remember when even my brothers would talk about when he would call us to his office, we would be just standing there and wait for him to tell us, sit down. And therefore, when Tita Nena entered the room, I said, this is the oldest sister of my dad. How should I act? I became very formal. I became very, in a sense, anxious, in a sense. I didn't know how to act. And then I suddenly had a cramp on my left leg. And because of I was a bit tense. And suddenly Tita Nena, when she heard me say, ouch, she immediately approached me and started to massage that area in my leg that had a cramp. And I was really surprised by that. He may touch us with these snares, these chains of love. in order that we learn how to love Him. So here's a God who truly desires that we learn to love Him. That's why everything that happens in our lives, my dear brothers and sisters, is always because the Lord is seeking love from us. Yes, we know that He loves us, but He cannot simply bring us with Him unless we also make that choice. And the third image of God that is presented in the gospel is, it is a God who calls us to journey. The angels, we know, did not have any, what we may say, time to grow in their knowledge of God. Why? Because angels had perfect knowledge and perfect will. So they made an instant choice. But unlike we human beings, we arrive to the experience of God and we get to know and love God by degrees, by stages. And therefore, our God is a God who calls us to journey, who desires not only to, what we may say, journey with us, but He desires that we end the journey with Him. That's why the Lord, the Father, tells the apostles who were frightened, listen to Him, follow Him, because I am a God that will not merely point out the way. I will show you the way myself, so that you will see that everything is okay. We listen and we follow Jesus, my dear brothers and sisters, my dear relatives and friends, because He is the only one who truly knows us as we truly are. As we get older, we face certain difficulties in our lives. Our medication becomes more expensive. Our activities become less, what we may say, physical. And there are a lot of changes that pull us usually out of our comfort zone. But God is telling us, continue and do not be afraid. The stages of life have been planned by me. And if you follow the Lord, these stages of life will bring you to the transfigured life, where little by little, as we get older, quantity becomes quality, and happiness turns into the happiness of our youth becomes the joy of old age. So, my dear brothers and sisters, I would like to end these reflections by a prayer for Kuya Pet. And I was praying this morning. Lord, may Kuya Pet continue to experience the human touch of Jesus, your Son, especially to his family and friends, so that each day he may be prepared, little by little, to experience the divine touch in the transfigured life in heaven. Amen.
Good afternoon, my dear brothers and sisters. In the Archdiocese of Manila, it is said that each priest ministers to at least 25,000 Catholics. And then the average priest of the Archdiocese of Manila, when it comes to the age, is 54. Meaning to say, if the median of the Philippines is 23, we have an aging priesthood. And it's also a shrinking number. But the question is, with all these challenges in the priesthood, why does Tito Ped have 4 priests celebrating the Mass today? Diba? I will try to do the connection. First, Monsignor Dennis. He's the parish priest of St. Andrew. Tito Ped is from St. Andrew. He's the head of the extraordinary ministers, liturgical. So that's the connection. A parishioner and one of the servants of St. Andrew Parish, where Monsignor Dennis Odiver is the parish priest. Our celebrant, Father Josis, is the first cousin of Tito Ped. And it has nothing to do with his ministry of turning off the demons. They're first cousins. Myself, I'm also from St. Andrew. I'm the parish priest of St. Ignatius, of San Felipe Neri. San Felipe Neri is the very good friend of St. Ignatius. So, as a Lasallian, I have many good Jesuit friends, Tito Ped included. Father Carlo is the head of the catechist of the Archdiocese of Manila, and he's also the president of the Transfiguration Club. What is the Transfiguration Club? In the Gospel today, we hear of James, Peter, and John going up the mountain, and Peter saying, "It's so good to be here." Every now and then, Father Carlo, Father Josis, and myself would go up to Baguio. And we would say, it's so good to be here because of Tito Pet. Thank you for feeding us at the Baguio Country Club. It's so good to be here. 3 wishes, Tito Pet. First, of course, like Father Joe said, aging has challenges, but may you always have peace in your heart. And of course, so remain healthy. And that includes the jokes as well. Healthy jokes. Second, of course, deepest, most important, the heart of Tito Pet is the family. May your family continue to be blessed. God watch over the family. And third, how time flies. It's August now. Next month is September. UAP. Although we'll be in opposite sides, I continue to pray for you. Anyway, Tito Pet, remember this. If Ateneo loses to LaSalle, you can always say, win or lose, it's the school you choose. God bless.
The grandson of Tito Pet, Lucas, will say grace.
God, thank you for gathering us all here to celebrate Lolo's 70th birthday. Thank you for giving us Lolo, who is not only family, but also a man for others. We pray that Lolo will live a long, happy, and healthy life, and that he will always continue to inspire everyone he meets. We also pray that Lolo will remain being the fun-loving person we all know. Aside from that, we pray that he will continuously enlighten everyone with his exceptional knowledge and with his superb attitude. Thank you, Lolo, for bringing us to all these amazing countries such as Japan, Canada, Hong Kong, and many more. Thank you, Lolo, for bringing out the best of all of us, and thank you for your unconditional love for all of us. Let us say grace. Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts, which are about to receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Tito Pet.
One more. Oh, you put.
Tito Pet will be blowing another cake. We're not done blowing all the cakes. Please be ready to sing again. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Thank you, everyone. Lunch is served.
We hope you remember this one. All Anka.
Suddenly it's hard to find the memories you left behind. Remember your love.
They do remember. Beautiful chapters.
Okay, my name is Jude Torquato. I am son-in-law number 2. And it's a pleasure for me to be able to guide you through the program that the family has prepared this afternoon. So we'll start off. I'd like to introduce someone who is one of the most loyal people that I know. He's so loyal that he has worked for the same company all his life, Unilever, since he graduated from college. 20 plus years he's worked in Unilever. So he is son-in-law number 1 with a big fan, the daughter number 1. I'd like to introduce to you Vincent Bindoy Baltazar.
All right, thanks, Jude. So, okay, I forgot I was up next. Anyway, so yes, I am Bindoy Baltazar. I married Lori, the eldest child of Pet and Winda. And she is also the eldest apo of Felix and Mena Bautista. While I, on the other hand, am the youngest of 6 Baltazar children. So yes, opposites attract. The eldest and the youngest. Parang no complaints naman so far. So, among the sons-in-law, I'm actually the bravest or luckiest because I was the first to marry into the Pet and Winda Bautista family. Pet is one of my all-time corporate idols. That's why for the past 23 years in Unilever, I've been trying my best to deliver world-class output. One of which I think a lot of people have tried is the launch of Selecta's newest premium ice cream cart door. It's cart door gelato. It's over there. So for people on the right side of the room, the world's best ice cream is over here to the left. So Pam, my birthday gift to you today is a promise. I promise to continue working hard to take care of Lori and Lucia, our one and only daughter, and your eldest apo. So with that, Papa, I hope you enjoy this labor of love video. We love you very much. Roll video, please.
For our next act, I'd like to introduce the company. Now, growing up, I took after my dad. I also really like music. The first thing I do in the morning is I turn on my Spotify and it becomes a soundtrack of my day. Although when I was a kid, my dad and I would always argue over who would get to play the music in the car because he would always say, "That's not music, Lori, that's noise." So now that I'm older, I go to his house and he still has music playing on his speaker. And the weird thing is that now I'm liking his music, so I guess that means that I'm getting older, but he's still staying the same. So on that note, I would like to introduce the company.
Beautiful chapters.
Thank you very much. I saw a lot of people earlier singing along to the Bacharach medley. Maybe you'd like to sing along to this one too. Here's a medley of songs from the group that revolutionized the sound and the look of rock and pop music as we know it. We can work it out.
Sure can.
We can work it out. Work it all out. Work it all out, honey. Work it all out. You know you look so good.
You
look so good. You know you got me going, baby. Got me going. Like I knew you would. Like I knew you would. Get back to where you once belonged.
Shout!
Come on. Yeah. Get back to where you once belonged.
One more time. One more call. Got it.
Saw her standing there. Well, my heart went through. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be.
We go.
Waste my words and waste
Your turn. You assembled a fun crowd. Huh? This is a fun crowd.
Okay, more than material things, my father was a big believer of education. This love for education, I guess, or the love of learning came from his parents who were both educators. I am very privileged and honored to introduce the next speaker who I really admire and love very much. So I'm very proud to introduce to you my Lola and mother to Pet, Lourdes Siquia Bautista.
What the heck? They say that when the heart is full, the lips are speechless. My heart is so full. I stand before you with a heart brimming with joy, love, and gratitude. Gratitude to God the Most High for having given me the privilege to be present at my son's 70th birthday anniversary. I don't think many mothers can say that. On August 6, 1947, 70 years ago, after supper, I felt severe labor pains. And I called up my husband at the Varsitarian office of the UST. He was a senior political science student, editor of the Varsitarian, the university paper. I was 23 years old. He was 25. I was a instructor in the UST. He was a college student. It was a case of him working to send me to college. And after I graduated, I worked so that he may finish college. He was the editor of the Varsitarian. So I called him up and I said, Felix, I have labor pains. Do you think we can go to the clinic? Not even hospital, just a maternity clinic. And he said, darling, he said, I am putting the paper to bed. In fact, I'm now going to the press. Go ahead, and I'll follow later. So I picked up the overnight bag, and with my mother, we walked. We were staying in a rented house, corner of Moret and Lepanto, Sampaloc. So we walked up to España and took the Metran bus. There were very few taxis at that time. And from España to Santa Ana Church, and we walked again to the clinic. As soon as I was brought to the delivery room, and with the obstetrician away, and only the substitute physician present, he just had sufficient time to put his gloves and catch the baby. It was the easiest delivery of my 12 deliveries, the easiest. An hour later, Felix comes, and the baby is already fast asleep in the nursery. Bienvenido, well arrived, welcome. We always speak of Pet, and sometimes we forget that his name is Bienvenido, welcome. How did the name come about, the name Pet? When we were already living in Paris, Balate, Stella was our neighbor, the TV program had the jingle, Pepsi Cola hits this spot, Pepsi Cola hits this spot, and Pet was only a year and a half. He started walking at 11 months. And whenever he would hear this song, Pepsi Cola hits this spot, he would start dancing. You saw him dance tonight. And so the aunties, especially Dan, called him Pepsi. So he was Pepsi until with the children who had difficulty saying Pepsi, from Pepsi it became Pep. Now, let me invoke, as a mother, let me invoke the bragging rights of a mother. When I think of Pet, I can give one expression that will, I think, encapsulate his character. He has a welcoming heart. True to his name, Bienvenido, he has a welcoming heart. He welcomes everyone who comes within the parameter of his life. He includes everyone. He does not exclude anyone. And so I will, if you allow me, to give the salient features of his character. Not personality, because you can hire a PR to give you a personality, but character is the person. And I will use the acronym HEART. H-E-A-R-T. H stands for hardworking. He is a very hardworking person. You have heard from the video that even after he has retired, he still works as consultant. I think he got this hardworking quality from the family. The work ethics is very strong in the Bautista family. Perhaps because both Felix and I worked. I was 13 years old, and I was helping my mother in her canteen in the legislative building. Felix was 15 years old. He was the secretary of Governor Lagman of Pampanga, and he was writing speeches at age 15. And later on, when his father, Felix Bautista Sr., was a representative during the Japanese occupation, Felix was his secretary and wrote speeches for his father. I was 13, he was 15, we started working. And my husband worked until he died at age 69. I retired at 60, was recalled, and continued working until 75. All 12 children worked from the time or even before they finished college. Gina was grade 5 when she was working after classes as a cashier in Triple Threat. You remember? So work is no stranger to the Bautistas. And Pet set a very good example. E is for endearing. I think all of us here, because we find him endearing. Even the grandchild Lucas said, in his prayer. I hope Lolo's fun-loving ways will continue. His sense of humor, you heard that in the video. And to me, he is a gentleman, very courteous, very polite, a true gentleman. He still is very fond of teasing his brothers, sisters, in-laws. And of course, Winda is a clear example of how endearing her husband is, right? A. So HEA. A stands for availability. Availability is a sure sign of love. If somebody loves you, he will always make himself or herself available to you. Even Father Josie said in his homily, I was in Cebu, I had so many engagements, but I had to see to it that I would be here to celebrate the Mass for Kuya Pet. Brothers, sisters, in-laws have flown all over, from Halifax, Nova Scotia, from Cerritos, USA, from Perth, Australia, from Toronto, Canada. All the siblings are here. They made themselves available out of love. So if you doubt whether somebody loves you, ask that person a favor. If he makes himself or herself available, he loves you. And to the young people here, love your children as much as you can. Cherish them, because time goes fast. Before you know it, they're in college, they're abroad, they get married, and long-distance love is no substitute for contact, face-to-face love. Pero mami naman, or some tita naman, I am afraid that may spoil sila. Remember this. Love never spoils. It is money that spoils. You have no time, money will take care of it. Love as much as you can. Because love keeps you alive. Love gives you a future. Love makes you dream. And as Pope Francis told us when we were at MOA family, no olvidar de rezar. No olvidar de rezar. Do not forget to dream, because dream will keep you going. 70 above, 93 above, dream. And Langston Hughes said, hold fast to dreams, for when dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a broken field covered with snow. So no matter what age you may be, dream. And love. Never cease loving. God loves us, and He loves us so much that we cannot help but propagate that love. A, availability. R is for responsibility and religiosity. I think the video and the statements made by his colleagues, superiors, can testify to the fact that Pet is very, very responsible. Give him a job, you can forget all about it. It will be done. When he was only 18 years old, and we were living I'm still living in Zamboanga. We had a piggery, and he was only 18. He would drive me, and we would go to Cholo's place in Pampanga, right, Cholo, to get piglets because we were raising pigs at the backyard. And one time, there was a strong typhoon. The creek behind overflowed, and the small piglets might drown. What did Pet do? He went to the pigsty, and his brothers followed him. They picked up the piglets, and they brought the piglets to the bathroom. And the next day, they returned the piglets. Every Sunday, when we were still starting our church, he was responsible to pick up the priest and return the priest who would say Mass. Very responsible person. Very religious. You have heard what the priest said. When we were in Pinoval, and he was only 9, 10, 11, he was serving as an altar boy at the Santo Domingo, at the UST chapel every morning before classes. Now, he is a Eucharistic minister. And finally, T, trustworthiness. You have the video saying how his bosses trust him. I tell you, you can trust Pet with your life. He will never deceive you. I remember Cardinal Sin telling my husband Felix across the breakfast table, Felix said, "Do you know why your children are so successful?" "No, Monsignor." I was the one who answered, "No, Monsignor." "You know, Felix, your children are so successful because you have never fed them stolen bread." Felix was honesty personified in my eyes. And I think that Pet, like his father, is honesty personified. You can trust him with your life. You know, T also stands for thankfulness. Thankfulness, gratitude. Pet always says, "Mama, thank you. Do you need anything? I'll give you whatever you need, I'll give you. I am so thankful to you." You know, gratitude implies humility. A proud person does not say thank you or seldom says thank you, because saying thank you is an admission that you are beholden to this person, and a proud person does not want to be beholden to anyone. I think our presence here is a testimony, eloquent testimony of how much we love Pet, because we are here to help him celebrate. So, hardworking, endearing, responsible, available. What makes him endearing also, I think, is his thoughtfulness. He thinks not only about himself, but his family. His family is number one to him. So, these are the qualities that I see in Pet from the lenses of a mother. To conclude, being the firstborn son, being born on the feast of the Transfiguration, I know that his brothers won't mind if I quote a line from Matthew in the gospel read at Mass this morning. Pet, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Happy birthday. I love you, sir.
Babe, I love you.
Well, let me just clarify things because you keep mentioning son-in-law number 3, Bindoy keeps mentioning son-in-law number 1, but let's be honest here. When I was 15 years old and still in high school, I was the first one to be introduced to the Bautista family. So I consider myself, technically speaking, son-in-law number 1. Love it that he has more time to spend, well, aside from the parish, but also with his families and with his apos.
So 8 months ago, my husband Vinny and I, we had the joy of our life come into our life. His name is Benedict. He was born 8 months ago, and we gave him the name Benedict Samuel Braga. Benedict, because he was our greatest blessing. We waited 8 years for him to arrive. Samuel, because we prayed so hard for him, and Samuel means God has heard your prayer. And then, of course, well, our last name is Braga. And looking at his initials, BSB, I didn't realize that I named my son, my firstborn, after my father, who has the same initials, Bienvenido Siquia Bautista. So looking at my son and seeing how close he is to my father, I would be more than privileged and more than proud if Benedict turned out to be half the man that my papa is. So he has a great role model in my father, and I hope that they will carry on their close relationship for the rest of their lives, as do Boo, Josh, Lucas, and Paulina. And with that, I would like to call up the man of the hour, our Papa, BSB, and otherwise known as Pet.
First of all, we'd like to thank everyone for coming here, but I did not know what the program was going to be like. So I knew there was something wrong with the program because should have spoken first. Who can ever top that? I love you, Mommy. Thank you all for coming to my debut. This debut was planned by Wenda and my daughters and their husbands and children for over a year. Sa totoo lang po. because as you probably know, for those who've been to the 50, 60, and now 70, I like to celebrate every decade. So for many Sundays, they would meet in the house, and when the meeting started, they would kick me out of the dining room. They kept it secret. And when finally Lori was able to finish the video, they were going to watch the video, and they asked me to watch a different video. And the name of the video is Dunkirk in Rockwell. I was, however, allowed to do two things: to do the guest list and to fix the seating arrangement. That's all. Of course, I was also part of the tasting committee. I hope you like the food. And I could choose the songs the company would sing. The task I loved most was to fix the seating arrangement. The kids were wondering why I had both Wenda and myself sit in table number 12, where my mother and all the older seniors sit. Tricia said, "Papa, Mama should sit with her friends." She insisted. And I told her, "Sweetheart, this is one of the few times your mom and I are able to bring down the average age of a table." So she relented. I hope you like the video. My father taught me to be fair and to provide equal opportunities. So I asked Lori, my eldest daughter, who is in charge of everything about the video, to give two Lasallians some airtime. These are Francis Estrada and Bingal Diago. They actually did very well, to my surprise. And by the way, Francis and Bingal are part of the 0.0002% of the Lasallians in the audience. Biro lang, Nonoy, and being Kapati. And I would like to thank all of those who said very nice words. I did not see the video, and I had a frog in my throat when I was watching it. So thank you very much, my family and my friends. I have a confession to make. No, it's not to say I have enjoyed every minute of my 47 years of marriage to Winda. But I guess after having said that, I'm good for 2 weeks at least. But to confess that writing this speech was harder than doing a father of the bride speech. With 3 daughters, I kept getting better with every wedding. And my secret was the same. I would talk and joke about my sons-in-law. But what do I do now? I have to be good to them since they're the MCs. So when I turned 50, I had a party with 60 people. My speech centered around finally being a golden boy. At 60, I had 250 guests, and my speech focused on my career, to thank those who were instrumental in getting me to where I was then. In fact, I had written, and I quote, "Retirement is a distant prospect, and life still holds plenty of promise and surprises." Yes, life did have a surprise. 2 years later, I suffered a stroke, which forced me into retirement from full-time work. So what do I talk about? I asked myself, this week, Chair Andy Bautista of the COMELEC, he was here earlier. These Bautistas are everywhere. Andy is here pala, sorry boss. Including Cecil Bautista as singer. These Bautistas are all over the place. He tweeted this week, "Great is being grateful." Chairman Andy tweets probably 20 times a week. And finally, I found one I liked. Just joking, Chair Andy. So there are many things to be grateful for. And let's start with the obvious. These are the 2 cakes in front of you given by Goldilocks. Thank you, Goldilocks. And to my Bel Air friends for the other beautiful cake. So the 10 years went by so fast from Crown Plaza to Manila Polo. And what did I see in the last 10 years? For sure, there were many lows. Cherry, my sister, came after me, passed, the first to die of 12 children. I had my stroke. Wenda had her heart operation. Lori, my daughter, had breast cancer. But there were many highs. Mommy at 93 is still hale and hearty. Trisha, my second daughter, gave us Paulina. Charlie, my youngest daughter, got married and has given us Benedict, our fifth apo. And the passing years gave me more experience and more wisdom, which brought happiness even in the face of adversity. Today, there are 300 guests. I have accumulated more friends. My father once told me, and I think Mommy also said that, a man's wealth is determined by how many friends he has. So right now, I believe I'm a very rich man. Of course, I have to confess I invited over 1,000 people to get 30% confirmations. And half of those who received the invitation said, OMG, I thought you were only 65. And that's where the idea came from, to say no more need for gifts because flattery will always get you everywhere. Seriously, I'd like to thank my family, my beloved wife, Winda, my daughters, Lori, Trisha, and Charlie, and their spouses, Bindoy, Jude, and Vinny, for making this party possible. Mommy already said that I have all 11 siblings with me here. They came from Canada, Australia, the US. My brother-in-law, June Galvez, who flew in from LA. So my heart is full of pride. I love everyone. Tomorrow, more than 50 of us are going to Baguio for a reunion. Thanks to my uncles and aunts and cousins on the Bautista and Siquia sides. Thank you to my Balaes, Ben and Nora Turquato, Tessie Baltasar. Thank you to our friends from Jakarta, from Singapore, from Winda's Tuesday group. Thank you to my classmates from UST High School, from Ateneo College, and Ateneo MBM Class 69. A special call out to my classmate, Jake Campomanes, who flew in from Atlanta, Georgia, specifically just to attend this party. Jake, could you please stand up? Or he has left. Jake, salamat Jake. Jake is also a poker mate and he steals my money every time we play poker. Thank you to my former colleagues in San Miguel, Kraft, Wyatt, Pfizer. Thanks to my new friends after retirement from Goldilocks, Coconut Oil Mills Group, Directories Philippines, DNL, Mega Global, Philippine Pharma Procurement Inc., and the Institute of Corporate Directors. Thank you to my communities of Bel Air and the extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion of St. Andrew the Apostle Parish, led by our parish priest, Monsignor Dennis Odiver, and the parochial vicar, Father Alan Dichoso. And how can I forget my three favorite priests who concelebrated at today's Mass together with Monsi Odiver, Father Josis, Father Mon, and Father Carlo. I have another confession. When I turned 69, I was really most anxious. You see, my mother said my father died at 69. So the man I saw as a continuing inspiration, for the first time I asked him not to inspire me by following his example. I forgot my props, sandali lang. Yung props ako, nakalimutan ko dahil napaka-emotional nung speech ni Mami. 1 minute. Meron akong props dito. Kalimutan ko. Nadala ko. Tago ko lang yung props ko. Don't worry, my speech will finish in 2 minutes. And some of my lay ministers have to go because they have to serve at Mass. So, I asked him not to inspire me by following his example. A few months ago, the Golden State Warriors became world champions in basketball. And the first thing they did was to wear their victory shirts and victory caps. So today, I proclaim victory in reaching 70 and allow me to wear my victory cap. Great is being grateful. I would like to be grateful today to my Father, as we are the children of our Father. Props, please. Video. You all know me as a marketing person, and some have wondered where I got the smarts. Today I can tell you they came from my father. Apart from the family, few of you knew him. He was a big man, over 200 pounds. Really never exercised, smoked a lot. He loved mommy and he loved his family. Daddy was a journalist, editor-in-chief of the Philippine Herald at age 38, and a teacher to countless journalists like Julia Abdaza, Rina Jimenez David, etc. To me, however, he was also a marketing man. My brother Felix Orton recounts that after he left his editor's job in the evening news by sticking to his principles over a mere job, he set up an office at home, issued flyers to many friends in government, and the flyer had a picture of a smiling Casper the Friendly Ghost with a caption, "Do you believe in ghosts?" This restarted his career as a ghostwriter. And wasn't that a smart marketing move? And so, yes, I'm a marketing person because of his genes. I also wanted to become a journalist like him, but he said, "No, Iho, I've asked you to provide for your children, to give them more than what I have given you, and in journalism, there is no money." Of course, those were the days when envelopmental journalism hadn't been invented yet. As the oldest boy, I had many quiet moments with him. Once I asked him, "Daddy, what comes after leadership?" At that time, I was general manager of Kraft Foods. His reply, "You move from leadership to eldership." I was 44. I didn't know what he meant. But today, I think I understand now what he meant. At 70, I have a pretty clear idea of how my actions have generated enormous revenue and profits for the companies I have led. I know I've had a substantial impact. However, now I realize how unimportant that impact is to me. Leadership of companies was going after short-term results, quick wins, and my career provided the most concrete evidence that I was moving forward. In contrast, investing time and energy in your relationship with your spouse and children typically doesn't offer that same immediate sense of achievement. Children misbehave every day, and it's really not until today, as I see all the planning that went into this party, that I can put my hands on my hip and say, Winda and I have raised very good daughters. Growing old does have an upside, to be sure. One is busy, but it is a slow busy. Daily experience adds to one's body of knowledge and hopefully of wisdom. Aging has heightened my appreciation of life's simple pleasures, and has given me a sharper sense of perspective on what really matters in this world. And what's that? Mommy talked about it. What really matters is my relationship with my family, my friends, and my community. As Mark Twain, more than a century ago, wrote, "There is a time so brief as life for bickerings, apologies, heartburnings, callings to account. But there is only time for loving, and but an instant, so to speak, for that. The good life is built with good relationships." So what Daddy meant is that eldership requires an intimate and loving relationship with my family, my friends, and my community. Eldership means understanding that the metric by which God will assess my life isn't the pesos, but the individual people whose lives I've touched. I think that's the way it will work for us all. Not to worry about the individual heights our lives can reach, but to worry about the individuals we have helped become better people. In 2009, the year I had my stroke, for the first time, I faced the possibility that my life would end sooner than I had planned. Thankfully, 8 years later, it now looks, and with my victory cap on, I know I have many more years to live. And as I go on with the rest of my life to reach my goal of 80, so I can again invite you all to celebrate, I wonder what the next 10 years will bring. If you were to ask me, who do I want to turn 80 with, I would say with all of you. It's a different world today, and these next 10 years will be hard to face. But I am not phased, I am not worried. I will be guided by what St. Ignatius wrote and advised, which is to find God in all things. He wrote, I will consider how God dwells in creatures, in myself, how God labors and works for me in all the creatures of the earth, how all good things and gifts descend from above. You, my family and friends, have all descended from above, and I thank you with all my heart for being a part of my life. Thank you so much.